apparently they would just ride up and down the street every day looking for us and wanting to possibly do some harm.
Really? And what I love about that is a lot of people, once they start having a desire to go into something, they'll go so deep down that fucking rabbit hole and they go into analysis paralysis. They'll read 100 books and they're like, I need to know everything before I do it. You read 2 fucking books and you pulled the trigger.
The 2 books went together and it was like, I mean, literally I was in my living room of where I live now on my couch reading the 2nd volume, and just like, I remember just looking up like, and it really, it's like a metaphor. The clouds parted. I mean, I felt like I got such clarity. I was like, this is so in your face that you don't see it. Like,
yeah. What was the name of that book? Welcome back to the Revamp Podcast. Super excited today. Real estate investor that is what I'd consider an OG. You've been at it for a while. Well, no, you haven't been at it for that long. We'll get into that. But somebody that I look up to, and I'm proud to also call you a friend, not just an acquaintance. Ray Peslar, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Look forward to it.
Absolutely. So is this your first podcast?
I would have to say yes.
Have to say yes. All right. I love it, man. Well, take us back, man. Your journey into the world of real estate.
So I was getting into real estate. Well, actually, I wanted to get into real estate, but didn't know how. And I partnered up with somebody that was also had a similar interest, and he didn't know how to do it either, you know. So we just kind of like researched and looked up some stuff on the internet, and he found the infamous Rich Dad Poor Dad book.
Love it, dude.
So he said, I heard about this book. It has to do with real estate, and I think we can learn how to buy houses. I'm like, okay, great. I couldn't wait for him to get done with the book, so I bought my own version. I read it, loved it, got a lot out of it, really got motivated, but it didn't have the meat and potatoes of how to really like make it happen.
Yep.
Showed me the tax advantages, showed me why, you know, I want to do it, the freedom and all these other things, but it didn't give me, you know, the real meat and potatoes. Where am I getting the money? How am I going to be a cash buyer? What banks, what's the process? You know, so I had another guy that was a vendor for a company I worked for at my 9 to 5. And he kept coming in and we were talking about real estate, and he had just flipped a house in Philly. And he said he had a friend up in the Poconos who was buying like tons of houses and paying cash up north in the Poconos. And he said he read a book. I said, well, you got to find out the book. So he comes in next month. Did you get the book? Nah, I forgot. Did you get the book? Nah, I forgot. This goes on for months. So then he comes in one month, and I don't even say nothing to him. And he goes, oh, hey, I got the book. I said, why didn't you call me with the information? You didn't have to wait to come here. So he tells me the book. I look it up online. I order it. There's 2 volumes. It's written by 2 investors locally, ironically, in Delaware County.
Ironic, yeah.
Not in California, and this might not work here. They're from Delaware County, these guys. They built up a business of over 300 homes in like the Yeadon, Aston, Newman College, you know, different areas. And they were more full-size pages, like maybe an 11 by 13 folded in half with a staple binder, you know?
Gotcha.
Very easy to read, big print, big spacing, written by real estate investors. It's not going to be complex here. But it was like the 2 books went together, and it was like, I mean, literally, I was in my living room of where I live now on my couch reading the 2nd volume, and just like, I remember just looking up like, and it really, it's like a metaphor. The clouds parted. I mean, I felt like I got such clarity. I was like, this is so in your face that you don't see it. Like, it's, so basically what they talked about before we had an acronym was the BRRRR strategy. And where to get the money was credit cards, you know, standard things, but a HELOC, home equity line of credit. So I was like, I got equity in my home.
Yeah.
My partner's got equity in his home. We just took out, we didn't have much because it was a recession. It was after '08. We got started in 13. It was kind of near the bottom or coming up a little bit off the bottom of the downfall. And I got a $40,000 HELOC. He got a $40,000 HELOC. We had a meeting at his house on like a Wednesday night. We formed our company, went to LegalZoom, formed our company, got our EIN number, started a bank account, got our HELOCs, and within 30 days we closed on our first house.
No shit. What was the name of that book?
The Section 8 Bible.
The Section 8 Bible. That's right.
So now they have 3 volumes. I also bought my lease from them. They were selling a lease.
Okay.
If you bought all the volumes, you got this CD free with leases, addendums to the lease, and all this stuff, and you just kind of filled it in and hit print.
I love it.
And I mean, it's I've been using that. I still use that lease, and I've been doing this since May. I formed a company of 13. In June, I bought my first house.
12 years.
I've been using the same lease today.
Yep. Dude, I love that.
It was awesome. It was so, like, how could I not have known that? Like it just, you know, I didn't come from money. I didn't come from parents that had real estate. I didn't come from anybody that had this knowledge, and I didn't know where to get it. And I'm an old head. I'm not like you guys that are young and always on the internet and searching out stuff and YouTube and, you know, figuring out how to do things. So, you know, I hung out with a younger guy. My partner's younger. And he got the book and he got us started. And you know, when we had that meeting to form the company, we made a lot of, you know, we made kind of a mission statement, what we're looking for, made sure we're on the same page. And we've had a really good business relationship the entire time. So,
dude, that's awesome.
I can't complain on that at all. I mean, knock on wood, it's going very well.
Knock on wood. But like, there's so many key takeaways from that, right? Like with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it was kind of like you said, like you had the inspiration and the motivation and kind of lit a fire inside you, but it was missing the how-to. That then you pick up the Section 8 Bible and it's like, oh shit, there's not only the how-to, but it's local, it's relatable, it seems real, it seems like, you know, it's in my backyard. And what I love about that is a lot of people, once they start having a desire to go into something, they'll go so deep down that fucking rabbit hole and they go into analysis paralysis. They'll read 100 books and they're like, I need to know everything before I do it. You read 2 fucking books and you pulled the trigger.
Yeah. I was so eager. I was already a handy guy. Since '08, we were in a recession. I was doing side work from '08 to 13 before I started. Handyman contracting, tile backsplashes, kitchen remodeling, basement remodeling. I was doing all that kind of stuff. So when, you know, it came time to, do I feel comfortable remodeling a house and tearing that down to the studs and doing, you know, buying these dilapidated houses? Well, it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. I'll add the value. I don't have any money that I can put 25% down and buy them real nice. So I had to go the other route of buying them like the BRRRR strategy. Buy them, rehab them, run them out, refinance, repeat.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So 13 years, you've amassed a massive portfolio with a big, you know, portion of it. You just recently, in the last 2 years, bought that giant portfolio, right?
Within 3 years. Yeah.
Dude, it's fantastic, man.
Probably 50% of my portfolio is almost that. Well, no, it wasn't. No, it was 50% in one location probably, but
yeah. You should run for mayor there.
But that purchase was probably a good 30% of the portfolio. Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. So all the way back to when you started and everything, like you said, 30 days in after you pick up that book, you bought your first one. What was that first one like?
It was really exciting. It was a boarded up house. It was in Linwood, and it was like 45,000. I still own it today.
You're good. You're good.
So when we bought it, we were excited. We went inside. When we looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's boarded up. We got to buy windows. We got to buy this. When we went inside, we noticed all the windows were just lifted, and the all thread to hold the wood on the windows was through the opening of the window, and none of the windows had to be replaced.
Really?
They were all perfect windows. So it just looked bad. It was really overgrown landscaping. You couldn't even get to the front door.
Right?
And I actually was driving my son home, and I said, we got to stop and look at this house. And it's dark. It's wintertime. No, it was spring. It was spring, but it was after 9, I guess. It's dark. He's seen a boarded up house. He was younger at the time, and he's like, where are we? What are we doing? I said, I got to look at this house. And we ended up buying it. I mean, I looked at many, but that was the first one we bought. Yeah.
Yep.
And it was, I got it for 45,000.
Okay.
I think we put about 15, no more than 20 in it. I think it appraised for around 100. We got all our money back. And
so you didn't even do a mortgage. You guys just did it cash out of what you had
cash,
from your
and
HELOC?
And then we refinanced and got our money back.
Got it.
And we put that money on our second property, and then a flip opportunity happened in Folsom. And like things were just moving so fast because the prices were very affordable. The competition wasn't as fierce as it is today. Not as many people knew about it. Not as many people had the money. They didn't know. They didn't do the HELOCs. They were just like me. Well, where do I get the money? Yeah. So I mean, I lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. Story of my life. Yeah, right? Story of my life.
It was just motoring. We were just cruising. We had a house we bought on auction.com that we couldn't get to because we were working on the flip house, and that one we had, borrowed a lot of money for. And the one that was the auction.com house had squatters in it.
Okay. I feel like that's pretty common for the auction.com stuff.
So the day of settlement, we drove by, and just ironically, I said, let's call Pico and see if there's electric on because there's an air conditioner running. There's lights on. And they said, no, there's no power to that house. So I said, well, there's power in the house. I'm standing out front of it right now. I'm the owner. I made settlement today, and there's an air conditioner running, and I'll just stand right there. They called the police. Pico came out with the police and kicked them all out.
Really? Get out of here. That shit doesn't happen anymore, does it?
I don't know. I haven't had the situation.
Well, you know how it is with evicting tenants and squatters.
Pico said, you don't have power here. So if you don't have power, and I don't know, the township was like, you got 24 hours. We're coming back tomorrow. You don't have power here.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be here. And we came back in 24 hours, changed the locks, but we didn't work on the house for about 60 days.
Okay.
Never even went there. Just let it sit. And all the neighbors said we were so lucky we didn't go there because this woman had a lot of kids, and they were older, larger kids. And apparently they would just ride up and down the street every day looking for us and wanting to possibly do some harm.
Really? So you bought that house totally sight unseen?
Oh, yeah. Sight unseen. I got that for $24,000.
Okay.
On auction.com. It's a 4-bedroom in Collingdale. And
so it's just that it was cheap enough that you weren't worried about like any of the crap that could go wrong.
Right, because I'm like, we know we're gonna probably have to do a majority of things.
Yep.
Bathrooms, kitchens, a new furnace, probably a roof, any windows, and they broke a bunch of windows to break in and get their stuff over that 60-day period,
Gotcha.
and just left the windows open and rain getting in and whatever. So, but we got that all buttoned up, redid it, put a new kitchen in, new bathroom, and redid the floors and electric, paint, new furnace, and running it out. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of equity's been built. That's been great, but everybody thinks you got all this money, but it's all in the house. Mm-hmm. If I sold all the houses, maybe I got some money, but it's not like people think. It is a business. There's a cash flow and a cash crunch and a cash shortage and expenditures and so.
Yeah, man. So going all the way back to like when you started, so you decided you were going into business with a partner. How did you come to that conclusion?
I don't know if I really came to a conclusion. I just always thought it would be easier with someone else for multiple reasons, keep you motivated. I don't feel like going there today. Come on, we got to get this done. I can't work tomorrow, so you can't go there tomorrow. So we got to go today. I'm out of money. He's got some money. There's just different reasons that it just seemed like it would be a good idea. And his personality is a little different than mine. I guess maybe that's why we get along so well. I'm very. I have a strong personality and a strong. I speak with passion a lot. So
that's a fair way to put it.
He's much more subdued and has a different demeanor to me, and there's times he's more thrifty. So it just complements. I'll say let's get this, well. And he says, well, this one's cheaper and it do the same job and it's going to hold up. And throws other options. It's a good yin and yang thing. It works. It works well.
I like it.
Yeah. So when we sat in his basement creating the company, we talked about what do you want out of this. Do you want 5 houses? Do you want 10? Do you want to, set up a retirement plan? I mean, what's your goals? And we were in line with a lot of our things. It wasn't coercing or convincing anybody.
Right.
So it just seemed like a good fit and a good match. And he's younger than me. I was 46, I think. Or no, 45 or 46.
Okay.
And he was still in his 20s. But he was a mature guy and had a good head on his shoulders. He already had a wife and kids and had flipped a house already.
Okay.
With some guys. So he was leaps and bounds ahead of most people. Yeah,
he kind of already had a foot in the door also, right?
But his mentality, his maturity was leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else that's in their 20s.
Yeah.
They're all like still partying, maybe getting married, don't have kids. I had seen him make other personal sacrifices, like, the maturity level of doing that, just different things make you say, he might be a good partner.
Yeah, that's a solid dude that I'm okay, being in it for the long haul with.
And we trust each other implicitly, and there's no second guessing. There's no who's dipping in the till. It's everything's on above board. We have a couple laundry machines that have quarters. If either one of us go get it, we don't even say, hey, I'm going to go empty the machine.
Right.
We just get it, count the quarters, and, tell them how much was in there. Like there's no issues with trust or anything about money. So it's good.
Dude, I love that. And that's why I think it's such an important topic to dig into a little bit, because a lot of people don't have successful partnerships, right? Like so many people start
I get
partnerships. Yeah, man. It's like, what's your freaking secret, Ray?
It's really just having two personalities of two, strong-minded people that are determined to succeed in something and give it their all. Not, I can't make it today. I mean, he had young children at the time. My children were not fully grown, but they were more in high school, kind of, junior high, high school, and maybe even college. But so they were older, and his kids were in their they were like infants or up to maybe 4 or something when we
Gotcha.
started. And he could easily have used an excuse that I got the kids, I got the kids, and put it all on me.
Yep.
And he didn't do that.
Yep.
He knew that it was a 50-50 partnership, and, you know, we would work together. Like, you can't go tomorrow. All right, well, we'll go the next day. You know, I mean, we did work things out, but
Right.
Ironically, not ironically, but fortunately, his work schedule, he worked as a sales job that was open 6 days a week. So he had a weekday off and Sunday off.
Okay.
I had Saturday and Sunday off. I worked Monday through Friday. So we could get a full day working with crews, guys, electricians, whoever we need, and be there on a day during the week. And I could do Saturday, and we could both be there on Sunday. So we would get 4 days of full work. Plus, we would go after work every single day of the week and work on them. And we would turn a unit in 4 to 6 weeks.
Nice.
Like full guts.
Like full, yeah. That's good.
So maybe not the whole house drywall, but some of them were. But they might take 6 to 8. But I mean, we did a lot.
You were moving.
We were and then boom, get it rented, get it listed, you know, get it rented, and get it refinanced. I mean, we just try and repeat it, just keep repeating. Is, you know, when are they going to stop being cheap? I mean, I bought a lot of properties in the 20s and 30,000s. Not like
Them days are gone, right?
yeah. But what's weird is everybody's like, "You're so lucky," you know. But the ARV back then,
Yeah. Was not what it
Was
is
80
today,
grand.
obviously. Exactly.
so
exactly.
if I bought it for 25,
it was still relative.
and I put 50 in it,
Yep.
they're going to want 25% on that 80.
Yep.
So you still had to watch your numbers. You had to do everything carefully, and otherwise you're going to leave 10, 20 grand in something.
Yep.
So it's the same it is today. It's not like it was worth 22 grand for me to buy it, but it appraised for 200 grand. You know, now they might appraise for 200 grand, but
Of course.
it
Yeah.
just-
We're buying for
yeah.
more. Dude, there's no, well, I shouldn't say
It's
there's
like
no
this-
question.
It is
Who
the same
knows?
formula. It's just that they were really cheap, so now they've had a lot of equity gain.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. So to that point, like equity, cash flow, how did you kind of break everything up and lay everything out as far as what you guys were going to pay yourselves from the rentals? Like, were you just kind of taking the cash flow and splitting that? Or when you refied, were you pulling money out?
we always pulled out kind of what we needed. We didn't pull out what we wanted.
Okay.
So we got 85 in it. Well, just make numbers easy. We got 75 in it. It appraises for 100. Well, we need the 75. We take it out. But if it appraised for 125, we still only took out the 75.
Okay. Got it.
We would just try and, because we're coming out of a big recession hole of foreclosures and bankruptcies and all this crap with other landlords and other bankers and all this stuff. So we said, we got to learn from this. Even though we weren't in it at the time, we need to learn
It was
from those
close
mistakes.
enough to be
we
able
need to
to
learn
look
those
back.
mistakes, and when it cycles, like it's going to cycle eventually here, don't get caught holding the bag.
Yep.
And try and finance only what we need.
So your average property that you were buying, even back then, right? Like 10, 11 years ago, what did the cash flow number look like ballpark per month? 300,
So
400?
if we, I would say it was probably around 300, 150 each.
Okay.
As a minimum we would want.
That was kind of your baseline.
Right. So my competition, if they didn't have a partner and they only wanted to make $200, they could bid higher on the house.
Pay more. Yeah.
Than I could.
Yep.
Because I get people all the time. What do you think it's worth? Well, my number is different than your number.
You know,
if
my
I got to split it with somebody, someone else don't have to split it. And are you going to redo the roof? Or are you going to leave that roof? Are you going to redo the
So
HVAC?
subjective.
You leave the HVAC. You're going to redo all the windows. Like what level are you going to go down to?
Yep.
On remodeling.
Yep. Exactly.
So, but I would say that was probably where, we didn't want to get below 150 each.
Okay.
Probably.
I like that. So as you were growing, you were scaling, you were buying more houses, you were doing, you did some flips along the way as well, right?
I did about 6 flips.
Okay.
The first flip was early on. We only had like 2 houses, 3 houses, and that was in Folsom. And we made about 40 grand, 20 each.
Nice.
And we closed on purchase and closed on sale in 90 days.
Dang, that's quick,
It
dude.
was exactly 90 days, the days.
That's quick.
We were there, like I said, we were there every day, every weekend, his weekday off. I mean, we were there all the time. The
Not an
wives,
FHA buyer, huh? That seasoning 90-day bullshit, man. It's a pain.
it actually was, and I wasn't aware of it. And there was like something they had to do. We had to wait like another week or something.
Okay.
There was some kind of thing that was happening there, but it wasn't. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I never
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
of it.
Well, what do you mean, man? I want to sell the house. They want to buy the house. Let's close.
Yeah,
You know?
I didn't have that knowledge yet.
You don't know until you get hit with it.
Right.
And it's like you're patting yourself on the back, like, I got this done so quick. And then it's like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So at what point was it that you left your job? Because when you started, you were still working a full-time job.
Yeah. So then I switched companies to another company, full-time job. And then in the interim of the years going by, I wasn't getting offers written as quickly as I would like. I might go on a lunch break and go look at a house because I worked in Trainer and I was buying in Linwood and Upper Chi and Lower Chi. And if it was local like that, I'd go check it out at lunch and call my agent up and say, hey, I want you to write this offer up. Oh, okay. And then I'd get home from work and I'd say, you have the offer? No, not yet. I'll have it after dinner. And then I'd call him after dinner and I'll have it to you tomorrow.
Man?
I'm like, I want today's date on it. I'm not going to put the same day as the offer, at least back then. It happens now, but back then I wanted to at least give them 24 hours. And I didn't want other offers coming in.
Yep.
I'm like, you got to jump on this.
Speed matters.
And I wasn't getting the results, so I became a realtor and started doing my own deals.
To serve yourself.
So then I was personally feeling like I need to get rid of this 9 to 5. And I just really thought, like, if I quit, I have no income. If something happened to the company and I got laid off, that would really be the ideal situation because I would get a check until I could, like, maybe go full-time as an agent now.
Yep.
And I make a settlement on a house, then I can say, okay, well, I got through the hump, and now maybe I'll have another one in a week later, and just start getting some stuff happening. Turns out, around the time I'm thinking of this, within a year, the company I was working at had this huge cash flow crunch. They laid off the purchaser, myself, a guy in the warehouse, like 4 guys that day. And then like the next day or the next week, they laid off another 4 or 5 guys. And the guy called me in his office and he said, this was in 17 now. So February 17. And he said, all right, we're having I think you know what's going on in the company. We're having a little cash flow issue. I said, yeah. And I had been with the company prior about 9 years and then came back in 13 and worked till 17. So I probably had, 13 years with the company or something. And he's like, well, we're going to have to let you go. We're going to have to lay you off. And inside, I was shooting off bottle rockets. I was like, oh my God, let me get out of this room. I want to freaking scream. I'm so happy. And at the same time, simultaneously, I'm thinking, I have to go home and tell my wife this.
Yeah.
This is not going to be good for her.
That's scary.
I'm fine, but I got to tell her we're going to be fine, and she's not going to believe me. Mm-hmm. Because we don't have enough rentals to sustain.
How many did you have at the time?
I had, I started buying some on my own as well, but I had probably 22 with a buddy, with my partner, and like 2 to 3 on my own.
Okay.
But cash flow was not that great. I had different borrowed money I was paying back. That takes away from the cash flow you're making off of that because that's separate from your 9 to 5 income. And
Yep.
so I bought a bottle of champagne on the way home. And the guy asked me immediately following, "We're going to have to let you go." I mean, he barely took a breath in and said, "So what do you think you're going to do?" And I said, "How do I know? I just got laid off. I have no idea. I got to go home and talk to my wife." But meanwhile, I'm saying, I'm going to be a full-time real estate agent.
Yeah.
But I was in the middle of a refi on the backside of the BRRRR strategy. And I had played around with my lenders and talked to them like at settlements prior going, what do I got to do if I'm full-time? And, are we can still get loans? How's this going to work? And it was kind of like, yeah, you should be fine. Well, I don't know, And then I had to call them and say, remember when we talked about, would you be okay with lending me money and I don't have a W-2? I'm maybe full-time real estate agent.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, I got let go today. So how's this going to work? Because you're in the middle of a refi with me. He says, well, you've been a real estate agent, right? For 2 years? I said, yeah, I got over 2 tax returns with being an agent. You're fine. I said, but I was only like a part-time agent. I'm going to be a full-time agent, but I don't know what I'm going to make. It's 100% commission.
Right.
And he said, yeah, but you have 2 years tax returns. And you just have to tell me what you think you're going to make this year on your, on your personal financial statement. So I wrote a conservative number, and they still thought everything was fine. And I just kept going with it. And then I did do really well. I got in with a investor-friendly agent in Philadelphia. Okay. And he had a small team, four or five people. And he advertised on Zillow, and he made the phone ring. And I said, a portion of something's better than 100% of nothing.
Absolutely.
So I was fine paying him, paying my broker, getting a smaller portion, but I'm getting something. And I full-time, the first year, I sold like 36 houses.
Wow. Okay.
Now, a lot of them were 25 grand because that was the Philly market. Yep. But I did sell like a triplex for 750 that was remodeled near Temple. And it had three 4-bedroom units with 4 bathrooms in it.
Okay.
And that person was going to rent that out to student rentals, housing. And it just all worked. And then the following year I did about the same, 30 some sales. My volume wasn't tremendous. I mean, it was a couple $1 million in volume, but that's not fantastic for 30 some units,
Right.
Or, if I had 36 units at 100,000, I'd be 3.6 million.
Man, I'm bad at the mental math.
But it wasn't that great, but it was a paycheck.
Right.
It was 36 paychecks. And I looked at it as my W-2, I get 26 paychecks.
Okay.
Every other week.
You're bi-weekly.
So it might not be as much, if it's a low sale, but I'm getting 30 some paychecks.
Yeah, man.
I said, plus I got the houses and I'm growing the portfolio. So it all just kept working.
So as a result of actually, one question I want to ask before I ask that one, do you think if they had not laid you off, you would have jumped? Would have jumped ship?
I wouldn't have been able to, that would have been hard for my wife to just deal with me just jumping like that. I knew I'd be okay. Like I just was positive about it. But like I said, I came home with champagne and I said, I got to tell you something. Come here, sit on the couch. And she was like, what? What's going on? Because we had just gone through like 3 pay cuts from 2008. That's why I was doing side work all the time. I had a bunch of pay cuts. I don't know if I got into that earlier, but so it was a really stressful 5 years prior to getting into real estate, from 2008 to 13.
Gotcha.
It was very financially stressful in my household. So it was an immediate, like it's only been from 4 years I worked at that company again, where I was getting a better salary. So she was like, we're finally getting established again, getting our feet underneath us. And I'm coming to pull the rug out. And I mean, I had a lot of people tell me, when you get in a real job, a realtor's not a real job, you're going to have to get another job in the winter because houses don't sell in the winter. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. But my clientele were investors mostly. I had some retail clients mixed in, but most of my leads were all investors, repeat clients. They'd buy one house. I'm showing them 3 more tomorrow. I mean, they just kept buying.
Yep.
So, and then they would tell their cousin, and their cousin would get into it, and then you got to use Ray. And then I'd show some clients like 7 houses in a day. I mean, I was gone the whole day. I would come home at night, eat dinner, and write up contracts till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, texting the guys for information, writing these contracts up. And they were like, Ray works till 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, and I didn't care if I'm working 20-hour days. I'm working for me.
That's right.
And I'm in control of my commission, like how much I'm going to make. So you want to work hard, you're going to make more money. So
was it hard early on though? Like when people would kind of give you that hate and just kind of shit on your dreams and just kind of be like, oh, go get a real job.
Oh, I had people shit on my dreams just because I wanted to buy real estate before I even lost my job. I have someone that said to me, I said to my wife, they had a friend who had a property, and they said that they had to knock on the door to collect the rent. Like, these people don't pay. Like, you want to deal with these people? And I'm like, yeah. You know what I do for $200 right now? I spent all day huffing drywall or tile up, and then I was on my knees tiling a kitchen, like, for a couple $100 a day. Like, all I got to do is knock on the door.
Yeah. Sounds like a step in the right direction.
I'm willing to knock on the door.
That's right.
So, I had the hate upon buying, and then it started to gain some momentum. And then when I was an agent, then I got some more hate for, another reason, because of the job.
Yep.
But, I had faith in it the whole time. I never questioned it. I just knew it would work. And if you are focused, I can't tell you how many days in a row I worked, how many hours in a year I worked. It was a lot of everything. Mm-hmm. I never once complained about it.
Yep.
I would meet people, neighbors. They say they're just tired all the time. Every time I bump into them, I'm beat. I should be the one saying I'm beat, and I'm not even complaining to you. Like, I'm just so motivated. I just saw this. I got to do this. So my number back then was like, I got to get to 30 houses.
Okay.
Before I can break free. That was kind of my number. And as I started getting closer in the 20s, I was like, maybe I can leave now. My wife was like, you can't leave now. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough money to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So, and we don't live lavish, but I was technically splitting those 20-some houses.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe if I had it all, I could have done it. But really, I had 11 houses or whatever, and that just it doesn't pay enough money.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been a journey.
Dude, I say all the time, like, it's so commendable for anybody to build a business that's primarily focused around rental properties, right? Like it's much easier. I don't want to say it's easier, right? To have some sort of active income and build a rental portfolio, right? Because that's kind of what you're saying, right? Is like the cash flow is hard to live off of, right? It's real sexy when you look at it and you're like, oh, $300, $400 a month in cash flow, plus my equity and appreciation, all this other stuff, but I can't eat that, right? So trying to live on $300 a month, to your point, it's like, well, how many do I need to have to replace my, $60,000 a year job? That's a lot of properties, man. Yeah. So to do solely that and make it happen and make it work. And obviously you did have other stuff going on, right? Being an agent, bringing in what I'd consider active income from that.
Right.
You know, it's like you do whatever you have to do to just make it work, man.
And my wife still worked at that time. you
Okay.
know, so that helped.
Gotcha.
She doesn't currently work, but she did work at that time.
Gotcha. So what were some of the struggles or growing pains that you experienced as you were kind of buying more rental properties, but having more experience as a landlord?
Things got tougher. I've had to this, I've probably had 3 full January to December calendar years where I had no purchases.
Okay.
And then I've had like a 6 or 8 month period that wasn't within the calendar year. It might have split 2 years where I didn't sell any. So, I've had almost 4 years of not even buying a house. There was just times where just the numbers weren't working, and I'd meet friends and they'd say, I just picked up 2 and I picked up 1. And I'm like, how are they getting these deals? But
so that was the reason that you didn't buy anything for that full calendar year, was because you were looking, but everything that you were seeing was like,
I was getting outbid. More people started coming into business. And I'm like, I don't know if they know how to run these numbers, but I don't see how they're making any money. Now, I did have different guidelines because I had to split the profit with a partner.
Sure.
But still, like, I would look at later on what things sold for, and they're upside down.
Yeah, so you don't want to go into a deal to lose money.
But I do see people at meetings and meetups and stuff with real estate that say, I don't care if I don't cash flow, as long as it kind of breaks even, I'm good because it's going to appreciate. And I guess, I don't play that game.
That's right.
I have to live on this now, and that my goal was to live on it eventually one day. I'm still an agent. I'm licensed in PA and Delaware. So I do help other investors still. I've always marketed myself as an investor-friendly agent, and friends and family and whatever. But, you got to do what you got to do. Even today, if I really would hate to go back to working for the man, but if I had to for a short period or do something, I would just have to suck it up and do it,
Yeah.
But if something happened where I had to do that, it's because I made a mistake somewhere. It's not because real estate's bad, real estate don't work, real estate's a shit investment. It's because I veered off somewhere from my process. I slipped away, and now there was an error, and now there's a effect from that error, and now you got to fix it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How'd you get to the point of like kind of developing processes?
We, in the beginning, when that night, we're like, well, how are we going to analyze properties? Because we didn't know. So there's obviously a very big podcast real estate show that we would listen to, and we're like, how do we run numbers? They keep talking about running numbers. I'm like, how do we run the numbers? So we kept trying to find people who had real estate and see if they would tell us like how you run the numbers. And we talked to a guy who kind of gave us an idea what to do. So I was good at building spreadsheets, and I put a spreadsheet together that I could put in like 6 numbers, 10 numbers, and it spits out like all these calculations.
Buy or don't buy.
Yeah, like you put in the purchase price, the rehab, the taxes, the insurance, and it would tell me, and you put an ARV number in, and there's an actual mortgage calculator in it at different interest rates, and it most of them are at the same rate, but they're different term lengths.
Got it.
A 15, a 20, 25, and 30-year refi. So I could see that and then check an ROI if I had to leave money in it. The spreadsheet told me everything. Well, you're going to leave $10,000 in it, and your ROI is going to be this percent. So we just use that all the time, and we could access it from Google Drive, so we both could look at a house or look at something and go on our phone and do it while we're right in front of the house.
Yep.
And so we would analyze deals like that. I still do use it. I get a rough idea in my head.
Yep.
But then I'll double check it. I'll throw it on the calculator.
Yep.
And but now there's calculators that do exactly that you can buy through different websites.
Yep. Mine, you can do it through mine,
Yeah.
Nah, man, it's great. It's funny because like I can do most of the math in my head, which is very ironic because I'm bad at doing like mental math, like just multiplication or whatever. But I can look at a deal and be within like, 5% of what my profitability would be just after spending like 15 seconds looking at it. It's real weird.
Well, it's repetition.
It is.
You've been doing it a long time, and you do a lot of deal analysis.
Exactly right, man. Exactly right. So to that point, what was your like acquisition strategy over the years? Were you just buying from MLS? Were you
We bought a lot from the MLS in the beginning for years, and then it started to dry up. So then I started networking more, go to more events, meet people. I did some stuff on social media, but I really didn't get a lot of traction there. And maybe it's because I didn't keep pushing it. But I felt like the ROI just wasn't there. I'm like, why am I keep doing this? I'm doing this for nothing. Like nobody's ever said. I mean, because everybody knows a realtor.
True.
So I'm not getting much real estate action that way.
True.
Because I didn't grow up here. I grew up in the Midwest, in Detroit area. So I don't have that connection with selling real estate. So buying real estate, it just, I don't know. I mean, it gets out there. Everyone knows that's what I do, but it's really been through the networking or an event more than just making a post or something.
Yep. Totally understand.
And just always asking. I can meet an investor who's buying and still I'll ask them, are you selling anything? You might have a dud you hate. Mm-hmm. I'm still growing, but I hate that one. I do want to get rid of it. And I just hit them at the right time and they'll be like, yeah, you want to come look at it? I'm like, sure.
Timing's everything, man. Timing's everything.
Mm-hmm. But I met a guy yesterday in Home Depot. I met one of the code enforcement guys in Home Depot yesterday. And while I'm standing there talking to him, another guy in Linwood is in there, another landlord that I don't know that he knows. So then we started talking, and I asked him. He didn't have anything for sale, but again, I always ask. You got to ask.
Absolutely.
Knows the worst thing that they're going to say.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's it. I love that. I love that. So, do you have an exit strategy in mind?
My exit strategy is to not exit.
Okay.
I want to either hand off to my children kind of a property management formula and have them kind of do a lot of it, and maybe I'll stay hands-on for a little bit on the rent collection and working with the people in that regard, and maybe just field the calls and the maintenance, but eventually handing it all either off to my children or to manage or a property management company.
Okay.
I just don't see the equity gaining the income annually that the cash flow has the potential to do with inflation.
Say that one more time.
The equity, if I sold everything, I don't see that giving me the annual income that my cash flow would give me. And in the future, with inflation, the cash flow is going to go higher because of higher rent rates.
Yep.
And the mortgage is hopefully staying the same, if not going down, because they're refinancing, there's a lower balance. Mm-hmm. So one of those two are what I'm currently and have been hoping for. Somehow they're still in the family. Someone else is managing them, and I can kind of retire.
Have you started those conversations with the kids?
Yeah. My stepdaughter and son-in-law, they've helped me a little bit with, I'll do some turnovers sometimes, and I'll have them field all the phone calls.
Okay.
And set up who I'm meeting where on Google Drive again, in the calendar in Google Drive, and we'll have a notes area, and they'll put their phone numbers and everything and who's supposed to attend, and whether there's one or four, she'll revisit that list a couple hours before the showing, firm up, delete who doesn't answer or doesn't confirm, And then at least I know if they don't show up, I know who to call, you know.
I love that.
So we're working that way with it. Really haven't done like a lot of maintenance and dealt with problems or anything like that yet, because my stepdaughter still has like 4 kids that only a couple are in school full time. So
Okay.
once they're all in school, then I'll know either they want to help take that over or not, and then I'll either move part of it in a couple years to property management, and I'll figure that out then.
But it seems that like they don't hate it. They don't despise the rental industry.
So far,
Good.
they haven't been involved to the nth degree yet,
of course,
to come up with the.
There's a lot of very unsexy shit that we have to deal with and everything, man. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's like, that's why you're still doing it. That's why I'm still doing it. It's like we often complain about tenant evictions or whatever we're dealing with at the time, but ultimately it's still a net positive,
I mean, every job, my W-2 I had.
It's a job, right? It's, there's shit that you don't want to do that you have to deal with.
I didn't want to have to ask for time off to go to the dentist.
That's right.
I don't want to have to ask for time off for vacation. And I don't want to be at the airport coming home and they say the flight's booked. Whoever can bump off this flight and go home tomorrow can get a $1,200 plane voucher. I don't want to have to call my boss and ask him if it's okay.
Yep.
I want to be able to take the voucher and just
pros and cons.
Everything's got a pro and con. It's just a matter of what pros are in your wheelhouse and what cons do you hate.
Exactly right. So talk about the portfolio that you purchased, because I know that you did that. It was a big purchase and it was kind of challenging for you for a while, right? Like going through that, getting everything stabilized.
Yeah. So that was I was an 18-unit portfolio.
How many years ago was that?
I closed, I think, September of 22.
Okay.
So 2.5 years, 3 years.
Big portfolio.
All in the same town. The town's very small. It's like 2 square miles. It consisted of 7 buildings. So it was a quad, a 3-unit building attached to a 3-unit building. So it's a twin standalone building, but both sides. Another twin standalone building with 3 and 3, and then 2 singles.
Okay.
And they all were occupied. They had all been there over 10 years. So I thought, well, eventually I'll just have to turn 1 unit here and 1 unit there. And like I said, they're not in the same development. They're in the same town. Mm-hmm. But people all don't. They just, after about 6-8 months to 10 months, they were like, I think I want to move. And I'm like, all right. And then I got another notice and another notice. And I had like 3 or 4 like moving out in the same month or something, or within 2 months, within 60 days. And then I started working on the first one and got that fixed. And then someone else moved out. And I'm like, I can't I'm not gaining any ground.
You weren't able to keep up
this
on
thing's
the turns.
getting wider, this gap in income. So now you lose 4 rents and you put out, these things needed full rehabs, full kitchens, full bathrooms, rip out the carpeting, put down LVP, paint, re-go through some of the plumbing, valves, fixtures, all the electrical sockets and switches. Sometimes maybe a panel had to get changed, like just all kinds of stuff.
But you kind of planned and accounted for all this stuff on your purchase. You just didn't think the timeline was going to unfold the way that it did.
Right. So you put away for those things, but you can't put that much money away. That's just, when you're missing that income and you're putting out at least $15,000 a turnover, 4 turnovers is $60,000.
Yeah, man.
And I ended up having, over a 2-year period, probably 9 go out, and it was very expensive. And then I had a couple of miscellaneous ones outside of that project that turned over at the same time in that 2-year period. But they were much smaller rehabs, easier to deal with, probably $5,000. but the money's already being spoken for over here. Like,
Yeah,
you
right.
know,
The
it's just
cash flow
you know.
is a motherfucker at that point, right?
So I was having a talk with my wife one day, and she said, where are you getting all the money to do all this stuff? And I said, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul. And she says, well, if you die, where's Peter? I'm like, I'm not even answering this question right now. I said, great question. Great question. I said, you just
It is
got
a great question. It's not an easy answer
No.
because it really comes down to creativity of
Yeah,
being able to
you gotta-
pull things together.
Yep.
And,
And you gotta make it work.
Yeah.
So I'm coming out of that hole. I got a couple of moves I'm making, and then that should resolve that and replenish that big pit of money.
Yep.
And hopefully that'll get solved in the next 6 months. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It could be 3 to 6 months. So yeah. So then I'll actually have a lot less stress on my shoulders.
What was your big, like, if you were to boil that entire experience down to like one or two big key takeaways, what do you think it would be?
I still don't regret, and I'm still very happy of the purchase. So that's not an issue. My wife might feel differently because she doesn't like the stress of that money being out,
Yeah.
right? But I told her, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get 18 units in this economy. They're hard to find at a deal that works.
That's right.
They are, they're usually overpriced. Even if you can find it and you really want it, is it going to make any money? Like, these can make money. They got potential, but the ones that move out, I got to fix them up. But now that those are fixed, if someone moves out of them, it's pretty much a paint.
Right.
Over a weekend, I can get my guys in there. In a matter of 3 to 4 days, they can paint the whole place. They really do a great job with that. And then I get my cleaning lady in there. She cleans the place. I don't have a carpet in most of my units. And, I have it turned in a matter of 10 to 14 days.
Yep.
So
It's just that upfront cost.
right. But that's a lower cost because it's just a kind of a touch up and get them in there.
Right.
It's still expensive. I mean, paint and labor is not cheap.
Yep.
But the LVP is paid for and down. The granite countertops or nice cabinets, soft close, full plywood construction are done. You know, so
Big ticket items.
yeah, right. The new water heater, hopefully, or whatever. So yeah.
All right. I like it. So what's your plan in the next, I hate going long time frames because I can't picture out that far myself. In the next year or two, what do you see yourself doing? Some more acquisitions? Where are you at?
I would definitely like more acquisitions. I would like to purchase some bigger stuff. I'd like to get into that world.
Okay.
I went to some training out in Arizona with another investor locally. We went out to Arizona just after COVID and did some training out there for like a week. And very, very informational, all meat and potatoes, no upselling. It was a great thing. And still have, like, for lack of a better word, a lifetime connection there that I can get updated calculators from them on, because they gave us their calculators on a thumb drive of their calculator to analyze a 273 unit building, which is different than my calculator that I built.
So we're talking residential, like just multifamily properties,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Got
apartment complex.
Got it.
Yeah, I still want to stay out of commercial, as in commercial, not commercial residential.
Got it.
But yeah, so I mean, I would like to do that. I want to be positive that it could happen, but it's almost as big as a step as it is to just starting to buy real estate. Like, it's a whole new thing, a whole thing to learn.
It is.
I don't want to say it's daunting, but it can be overwhelming. But I do want to be much more financially stable, like after that 3 to 6 month period from now. I haven't even put my feelers out there or done anything because I'm just basically breaking someone's balls, basically, if
Right.
they get involved with me at this point, because I'm not really financially ready.
Yep.
So I need to get those other ducks in a row, and then I would love to do something like that. I think if I could eventually get into that arena and build that up, I mean, I would get rid of my local stuff, or you know, definitely hand it off to a property manager at that point.
Gotcha.
One or the other.
What do you think the attraction to bigger units, more tenants under one roof, like what's the draw to that for you?
Just increasing cash flow per month at a more rapid pace.
At a more rapid pace.
You
Got
know?
it.
But at the same token, if I'm buying value add apartment buildings, I could run into a situation like this 18-unit purchase.
Yep.
I got a bunch of vacancies. I got no stuff. The guys deferred all their maintenance to previous owner, and I'm putting out tons of money. And, I've had people telling me, just do the bare minimum, get someone in there, But then you're getting a bad tenant usually, because a good tenant doesn't want to accept poor living conditions. And I don't want to provide poor living conditions.
Yep.
My units might not look like something I'd want to live in because of the way that the tenant may have treated it. But any unit that I've purchased and rehabbed, I make it so that I wouldn't mind living in it necessarily. You know what I mean?
love that.
So I don't just like spray the carpet and just do really
Bare minimum
bad
stuff.
Yeah,
right.
The Formica's peeling up and you just leave it and hit it with a nail.
Yep.
Keep it down. I mean,
Like the guys that just slap brown paint on their hardwood floors. They don't even refinish them. It's just paint the floor.
That's in the book.
Yeah, I bet it is in the book.
That's in the Section 8 Bible book.
Yeah.
But, there were some good takeaways in there of, I don't put ceiling fans in my units, even in a really nice area. If I have a unit in Havertown, and if they wanted a fan, I'd say you buy the fan and have someone put it in.
Yep.
I don't want the call that this thing's.
That's right. That's right.
I don't want the call.
Don't wanna deal with it.
That I broke the globe on it because I was changing the light bulbs, and now I just don't want all those calls.
Yep.
I don't put garbage disposals in most of my units. I don't put hose bibs outside because they tend to let the hose stay connected and freeze the pipe.
Love it.
So, but all this stuff was in the book. Like,
what about dishwashers?
I have a couple, but primarily I don't. And some of the places that I have them, they don't use them.
Really?
They wash the dishes and put them in the dishwasher to dry.
Interesting.
They just don't use a dishwasher. It's crazy. So I love a dishwasher personally, but so some of my tenants, they don't use them. I don't know if they didn't grow up using them. They just don't, they like knowing it's soap on there or
maybe
cleaning. I don't know, but I have several tenants that don't use the dishwasher that's in the home.
That's funny.
And I'll open it up and they say, well, I just put the dishes in there to dry. I wash them by hand.
Hey, whatever works, man. Dude, I don't know, man. We just got done issue with our dishwasher at home, and my wife was up my ass. And I'm typically the guy, I'll fix things around the house, right? Whatever it is, I'll fix it. This time I was like, yeah, I don't have the time or the mental capacity, just freaking call a repair guy, right? Man, she got stood up on like 3 appointments. Finally, a guy came out, he diagnosed it, and it was just like the pump. It wasn't pumping the water, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, you need a new pump, order the part and I'll come back out. She ordered the part and he never came back out. So last night I went and I was just swapping the part and, got it fixed and everything. But yeah, she was on me, man. It's like, 4 days without a dishwasher and it's the end of the world. So,
well, you got a couple kids too. So dishes do get
they pile up, man.
Yeah.
They pile up for sure.
Yeah.
So I love that, Ray. So are you still working with other like investor clients to help them find deals now as well?
Yeah, I had a guy close in Philly last week. I helped him buy but he's a repeat client for years now. He bought 3 or 4 in COVID from my living room. Like
I
was
that.
sending him stuff, and he was buying it sight unseen during COVID because we couldn't even show houses.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was his market's Philly, so I service everything he does in Philly. But he's got one in I think it's Trainer. He's got like a 4-unit in Trainer, but other than that, I think everything's in Philly.
You kind of alluded to this earlier anyway, but like overall, do you think it's easier or harder now to find deals and be successful, have profitable deals?
I think it's harder, but I don't think it's impossible. I definitely don't put the time in I did initially right now. And I think it's more because of my situation with that portfolio and getting out of that whole thing. Once I feel personally stronger financially, then I'm going to be more motivated to let's grow again. Let's get going. I've looked at a few houses, even though I'm in the situation, to see if I can find something that's definitely going to be a good hit.
Yep.
And if it is, I'd still jump on it, being in the situation I am, because I would feel confident that I'm going to be on the backside of it pretty good.
Yeah.
If there's something that's close or iffy, I won't. Where I would if I had my situation settled.
But how much of that do you think is just kind of like you mentally beating yourself up and making yourself afraid of doing something that you already know? Like you have a proven track record. You've done this time and time and time and time and time again, and you've been successful. How much of it do you think it's like I'm gun shy because I'm kind of coming out the other end of a difficult time?
I don't necessarily think I'm gun shy. I just want to make things, they're not wrong, so I can't make them right, but I want to get things right, like I've told people, my wife and everybody, that I'm going to do. So if I find a home run, I feel confident that I'm not really going against my own word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to just try and get things the way I said I'd get them, and then I can,
I get that.
Get hungry at it.
That fully makes sense. And it's like, I don't know, looking at it from my lens, right? It's like, I only just recently started buying flips and everything again. It's like, dude, whatever. Every year I may have bought 1 or 2 flips, but I wasn't really focused on it. Then I dealt with a hard time and everything a couple years ago with buying the office and all that crap.
Yeah.
And it did make me a little bit gun shy to continue buying properties. Same thing. Maybe I bought 1 or 2 a year, and I don't know. It was more just that the fundamentals of deals were still there. And obviously I was still in front of deals because I was wholesaling, but I was kind of in my own head. Like, I don't know, I guess thinking about it now and reflecting back, it was kind of like I was uncertain because I had dealt with some hard times and some cash flow issues. And it's like, man, do I want to fucking deal with some cash flow issues again? Like if everything goes wrong on this project, if everything goes wrong on this property.
I don't really think of it that way. I think of it more like, if I do this and it's close, it's tight, and something goes wrong, which you always try and plan a little bit for,
of course.
But I feel like I'm going to say to myself, are you a fucking idiot? Like, you should have waited. Why are you doing this? Now you're in a situation that's worse than what you were in. Like, you're making things worse because you're not patient to let this run its course.
Yep.
And do what you said you're going to do. You're being impatient. So I'm okay being impatient on kind of a home run,
Yeah, that makes sense.
The perfect pitch, I'm going to swing. But if it's a little outside, it's a reach, I got to reach for that, then I might say, I'm going to hold off.
It's not for me.
I'm going to hold off on that pitch.
I totally understand. Totally understand.
Yeah. So I don't really know that I feel like I'm gun shy. I just feel like I'm going to be potentially disappointing people more than I've already disappointed them, putting this stress on them that I didn't want to put on them. You know, I don't mind handling any of the stress. I don't like to put other people in that situation of having this stress, my family.
Yep.
So, I don't like, what do I want to say? I don't like, I don't want to not feel good, you know? And that
Totally
makes you not, it could put you in a big depression.
Everything that you're doing, it's like, I'm doing this for my family, right? And I understand what you're saying. It's like, sometimes it doesn't seem that what I did is good enough. And right now things aren't going great, you know, and I don't feel wonderful about it.
Yeah,
I understand.
No, it happens. There's been times, you know, I'll beat myself up and people will say, what are you, crazy? You know, you're so successful, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, you know, you are, but at the end of the day, you're really not. It's not like, I mean, a lot of investors I talk to, we all don't have tens of thousands in the bank. You know, you know, oh, how many shoe boxes you got under the bed, you know?
Well, that's always the thing,
like,
right?
none.
It's like,
you got one? Can I borrow something?
that's notoriously the joke is the worst place that you can go to raise money is a room full of real estate investors, because everybody's always rich on paper and has a big net worth and maybe owns a lot of doors or flips a lot of houses or wholesales a lot of houses, whatever. But it's very rare that a real estate investor has cash on hand.
Yeah, the ones that do are the ones that had a nice sized portfolio and sold half.
Yeah.
Paid off a lot of stuff, paid off some debt, and they left a chunk in the bank.
That's right.
You know, so that's a play down the road. I mean, maybe, I don't know that I want to do this, but I mean, I've had plenty of people tell me, you know, like, you can cut your portfolio in half in the future when things are paid down. You'll have all that equity. You got to pay back your depreciation, your capital gains, and all that stuff. But you could pay down mortgages on some of the other units, make more cash flow than you're making now with less headaches. So, I mean, that is a play. But, you know, I prefer to keep them all if I can, you know, at this point.
Believe me.
But
totally understand.
who knows? I've only been doing it 12-ish, 13, whatever, 12 years. So, maybe in another 10, I'll be like, I want to sell them all. I just want to sell them all, take whatever equity there is, try and 1031 in it to, you know, a 110 unit building or complex or something. And, you know, and have a nationwide property management company take it over. You know?
Take it over.
So maybe that'll be the play. But right now, I mean, I plan on hanging on to stuff and seeing if I can grow. But I'd like to grow, like when I bought those 18 units, like I said, it wasn't like a double my portfolio, but it was a big jump.
Yeah, man.
And I knew I was going to be a little upside down with cash. I bought it cash, didn't have a lot of rehab. I did do some little cosmetic things and stuff that I saw like these need immediate attention. But then the backside refi on that, I knew I was going to have to leave money in there. I knew it wasn't going to appraise for enough that I could not leave nothing in the deal.
Got it.
So I explained it to my family. You know, I said, look, this isn't going to really cash flow, but I'm going to have them. And they're going to cash flow once I can refi them out. Part of my problem that really screwed things up was everything was underwritten at 5.25%. And I got locked in at 7.25%. It flipped.
Big difference.
It flipped. It was at the time 3 years ago.
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. It was just flipping out of the 5.25% to 7.25%.
Yeah.
That is $2,000 off my cash flow a month.
It's a big nut.
It's $24,000 I'm not seeing that I anticipated seeing to pay back that money.
Right.
So I'm working with other ways to try and pay it back. And, you know, it's just a much slower pay down. So I'm looking to refi now because some rates have calmed down a little bit. Are they at the 5.25? No. But if I can get my rate down a little and my term out, then I'll have availability to potentially, based on the new appraisal, appraising higher than they did 3 years ago. And I've done a lot of work to them, and the rents are higher, so they should have a
That's
better
the value.
value.
Should, yeah.
Then I should be able to refinance more than I even originally financed 3 years ago. Pay back some of that money that was taken out, and my payment will only go up very minimally. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Might be a good play.
Yeah. So that's where one part of my plan is.
I'd kick myself if I didn't ask you, what is your like tenant screening process or the marketing and screening process? Like you have a vacant unit, you're trying to get it filled. What do you do?
So in the last 2 or 3 years filling all those vacancies, I really didn't advertise at all. I had tenants that had a sister, had a cousin, had a friend, and I would screen them with background checks, meeting them personally, having some conversations, and looking at their finances. And they usually were working out well, and they've worked out well so far. So I haven't had to do a lot of current Facebook marketing or putting it on Zillow and HotPads and Trulia and all
Sure.
that.
So, but going deeper into and strategic and tactical, right? Like when they fill out an application, how are they doing that? Like, is it your own application or are you using one of these services?
I just pulled a generic 2-page application off the internet.
Okay.
I make every individual fill out the 2-page application and give me a photo ID and proof of income.
Okay.
And then I'll pull a nationwide eviction report. And
So you're doing that yourself on the back end after they hand you an application?
I was using a company, and then I switched to another company and another company, just for this company got bought out, and I didn't like their format of the new company, just for whatever reasons. So now I'm also using another individual that runs background checks.
Okay.
But it seems like, I don't know what's going on, laws passing, they're not putting the evictions on the nationwide eviction searches. So I had a tenant in my most recent one, and it was a friend of a friend, no, I don't have any evictions, but I had a little hiccup, but I paid him, we worked it out, okay. The nationwide paid background check that the tenant paid came back clean. So I went on PA docket and I found it. I said, why are we not allowed to see this?
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Yeah.
Why are we not allowed to see this? This is bullshit.
Yep.
I don't care if your credit score is 520. You bought 60 pair of shoes at Macy's. You didn't make your car payment, but you paid your landlord. That's my credit.
Yep.
That's my credit check. Macy's doesn't care if you were evicted as long as you paid your credit card bills and your credit score is high. They don't care if you have an eviction. I don't care if you didn't pay your credit card bill. I want to know you paid your landlord.
Right.
But we're not allowed to know that. It's bullshit.
It's insane.
So,
Totally insane.
I look at PA docket a lot.
Do you ever verify income? Like when somebody gives you pay stubs or something like that, do you ever verify?
I had one instance where I had a management company that I was familiar with on their contact for who their landlord was. And they had pay stubs. And something on the pay stub didn't look right. And here it was a fake pay stub.
That's exactly why I ask, man. Like in the
I had one
last
time
year,
that I had that
dude,
happen.
we started seeing a lot of them.
Really?
A lot of them. Yeah. Yep. And still, like, our process isn't as good as it should be. It's like, really, I think our process should be, a little bit more detailed. And I think, do you ever do the in-person meetings with tenants prior to renting to them, like the
I do them
house
all.
view,
I meet them all.
like at their current residence?
Oh, yeah. So I have done that many times. Yes.
Okay.
I'll tell them I want to drop something off. I'm in the area. Are you home?
Yeah. I think we need to implement that. That's
Yeah.
why I ask.
Yeah. I've done it a handful of times. But every time I've done it, the home's not just lipstick. I cleaned it. Like, they keep the home.
That's what I want to see.
I know. But I'm like,
know?
I can't believe I'm trying to catch you not doing the right thing.
Yep.
And they're doing the right thing. So I'm like, okay, I guess this is a good one.
Yeah. That's who you want to rent to.
Yep.
Your application's going top of the list, baby.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Ray, if you could go back to being 20 years old, knowing what you have now, knowing what you know, the last 12, 13 years of experience, would you have done anything differently? Would you have jumped into real estate sooner?
Absolutely, because I would know how to do it. I mean, I wanted to do it many, many years prior to even knowing my partner. And I had a friend who had been doing it. He's been doing it probably 30 years. But I knew him back when we had pagers and no cell phones, and just gradually lost touch. And I ran into him in a supermarket back when he was just starting out. He had 7 rentals. And I was like, oh my God, this was probably around 2000 or maybe 98. Yeah, it wasn't 2000, probably 98 or 99.
Okay.
And then I moved, and I was in my Wawa. Because everybody has their Wawa. That's your Wawa, you know. I was in my Wawa.
Got it.
And I saw this guy coming, and he had jet black hair and a close beard, jet black. Was jeans, leather jacket, Harley Davidson guy, you know. He, I see this guy, older gentleman, all gray, no beard, khaki shorts, khaki Docksiders on, tucked in button shirt, holding a baby. And I went to open the door. And he said, oh, thank you very much. And I was like, that voice is my friend from 20 years ago. And I'm walking around the Wawa looking. And I see his face. I said, oh my God, it's him. So I talked to him. He said, oh yeah. Yeah, I got like 60 or 80 or something, you know. I'm like, holy crap. But I didn't want to feel like I'm using him or get him the impression I'm using him. Oh, let's meet for dinner. I want to learn all about it. That's not my personality to be like that to people. So I'm not the young millennial guy who's going to just internet and Google everything. So I didn't really even think to do that stuff. It's not the way I grew up, you know? I wish I was more like that. But, so when I started finally getting into it, but I wanted to get in at 2000. I wanted to get in 13, 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier. I thought it was a fantastic idea. I just didn't know how. I don't know how you get this money. So once I became established, I looked them up on Facebook, and social media started getting popular. And I thought I found them, and I reached out, and we exchanged numbers on Instant Messenger or whatever, and we talked for like 4 hours that night.
Yeah.
But I was able to tell him I got 6 properties or 8 properties, and it was. Now it was
relatable.
Yeah,
you were
now I
in
can
the
pick
game.
your brain, and I'm not just using you. I've already been doing this.
I'm doing it. Yeah. I love that.
And he's like, you could have came to me 20 years ago. I would have told you everything. And now I know that because all the investor friends I have all help people, and I still help people, and we all give back because this has been life-changing. Real estate's been life-changing for the positive. Yep. And I want people to be able to enjoy life in freedom and different things, but it's harder now, but it's still attainable. Still attainable.
Absolutely right, man. Dude, and look, that's one of the main reasons that I do the podcast, right? It's like, I love having not just the ability to share my story with people, but having guys like you come in, share your experience, your life story, because to somebody that's listening, it's like my story might not be relatable to the guy that's in his 40s that's been thinking about doing real estate investing for the last 20 years. And he thinks it's not attainable. It's not possible. It's not for me. I missed the boat. I missed my shot. He hears your story and it resonates. And he's like, wow, man, there's something here. There's something on the other side and I can do it.
I mean, I tell people, like, you know, I started at 46. I think Colonel Sanders was in his 60s. Like, you know,
it's never too late.
Right. I mean, you could start at any time, man. Anytime. Anytime is better than never.
That's right, man. What's that saying? The best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is today. You know, whatever that phrase is. You know what I mean?
Well, I actually used this one last night. I was talking to someone, and I said, "You don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait."
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I love it. Yeah. Ray, thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you if they want to reach out? Social media. You on Facebook?
Social media is Realtor Ray on Instagram. And then on Facebook, I'm under Ray Peslar.
Love it. Ray, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank
Wealth
you.
of information. Loved it.
No, it was great. Thanks.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right.